Coach, going back to Garcia, if he does not follow what you're telling him, will he be on a short leash?
Well, we'll see how the game goes. We want Stephen to play well and just take care of the ball. And really, basically, his fumbles have been the only problem. He's played pretty decently. Yeah, but obviously you can't just run in there blindly and get hit hard and fumble. So we're going to try to get that corrected and go from there. But Connor is, he's ready to play too. So, but we're hoping and believing Stephen can take care of the ball just a little bit better.
Coach, can you talk about the matchup with your receivers, specifically Alshon with Alabama's secondary? Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if they just play against us like they do everybody else, which actually most teams do. Every now and then they may run some kind of man-to-man with a safety over the top of Alshon. We did see that late in the game at Auburn, a little different scheme just for him. But other than that, most teams usually play their scheme of defense and go from there. But I got a feeling they'll know where Alshon is most every play because we have thrown more of our downfield passes toward him. So it could be important to get the other guys involved if we can a little bit more.
Steve, you talk about Alabama's, their technique and how smart they are and things like that. Is that all testament to what Coach Saban has brought in? Because it seemed like before he got there, they weren't doing a lot of those things.
Well, it's testament to good coaching and good recruiting. Really, really good athletes. You start with, and obviously they've done an excellent job recruiting. I read the other day that one of the recruiting experts said Alabama and Florida are the two top recruiting schools in the nation now, whereas Southern Cal used to be, and maybe even Texas. But if you watch, I watched Texas against Oklahoma a little bit last Saturday. I don't know if you guys watched that game, but athlete-wise, I don't think Texas is close to Alabama right now. I just think Alabama's athletes compared to Texas right now is a pretty huge difference, just strength and speed and so forth.
Coach, can you talk about Garrett Chisholm and how well he's played since becoming a starter and him also being nominated for the Campbell Trophy?
Okay, yeah, Garrett's a fine young man, does everything we ask around here, excellent student, and came here as a walk-on. I don't think he qualified out of high school, went to a little college up in Kentucky, up in Pikeville, and showed up in our office one day wanting to walk on for the football team a little over a year ago. So we gave him an opportunity and went to the scout squad, and then pretty soon last year, Coach Lorenzo Ward, he said that walk-on kid, Chisholm, you need to take him over to the real team. So we took him off the scout team, and he was starting by the end of the year. I think he started the last 4 or 5 games, so forth. So he's done well in there, and yeah, we would love to have had him for 4 years, but two's pretty good. So we're glad to have him with us.
Steve, what did you learn about Connor in the end of that Auburn game, just how he operated the offense? I know he had the interceptions, but just how he did things.
Yeah, that was the only one bad play. As soon as he threw that one, I said, oh, no. That was one that but other than that, he scrambled around and threw the ball, made some plays, got hit hard one time, stayed in the pocket, took some hits. He played pretty well. And really the last play, Alshon, had 2 hands on the ball, and they knocked it out. So, yeah, Connor played well. He's we think he's going to be a real good player, and we don't know if he's quite ready yet or not, but we'll have to just see how it goes. We're all hoping Stephen will play up to his potential and take care of the ball, and then Connor will be ready when his turn comes.
Do you have a plan for Connor at all this week?
Oh, we may have a play or two here or there that he gets in early. We may not. Depends on how it goes.
What does Alabama do in the red zone defensively that makes them so difficult? Is it effort, scheme? Do they change things? Oh,
I don't know exactly the answer for that, except they were pretty tough around the 1 yard line, 1 2 yard line. They get everybody up in there. That's for sure, and they cover pretty well if you're trying to throw also, I guess. But again, sometimes against teams like this, you don't want to get to their 1 yard line. You'd rather get to their 7 or 8 or something like that. Sometimes it's actually easier to score from that distance. But one thing that I do like about Coach Elliott, our line coach, is he likes to stay spread out down there, and that's what we've been doing, and we've been a lot better running the ball in, as most of you guys know, than we have in the past. Whether or not we can do it this week, we'll just have to find out if we get down there and so forth. And we're planning on getting down there. We're planning on it, but we'll see how it goes.
We've heard you talk about doing things that have never been done in school history before. Is beating a top-ranked team one of those things that you feel like is an important milestone to get?
Well, the opportunity's there. The opportunity's there. I think it's been there before, and we haven't quite done it. So that's an opportunity. But we don't really talk about that. We're trying to talk about how to play the game the best we can, how to take care of the ball, be smart, this, that, and the other, and just try to put ourselves in position that if we play our best and maybe they don't, something could happen. So that's what we got to concern ourselves with all the way up to the game and through the game.
Steve, you talk about opportunity. I guess you've got the opportunity to get to that number 2 spot on the SEC wins list.
Yep.
Is that something obviously you'd be proud of that, I would assume. Is it something you can even think about this week or any game?
Oh, no, I really haven't thought about that. I was hoping we were going to get that over with at the Auburn game, but we didn't. But no, we're not talking or worried about that right now. Hopefully we can win another conference game somewhere as we go through. But again, that's an individual thing that, years from now may be fun to look back at, but right now it's not a big deal.
Coach, how confident are you with the overall depth at this point in the season?
Overall depth?
Yes.
We don't have many injuries. We've never been real deep at certain positions, but most of our guys are healthy and ready to play right now. Shaq Wilson's out. He was a starter last year. He really hadn't played much this year. Tried to play the last game against Auburn. Didn't play very well. Just couldn't run, couldn't move like he normally does. Did recover a couple of fumbles, though. He was there when their guy fumbled, so he did do that. But he's not moving around like he was last year, and there's a chance we may try to hold him out and redshirt him this year. Okay.
Steve,
Yep.
you've gone up against so many of the great coaches in the game. Knowing that Coach Saban has a lot to do with the defense, what's it like matching wits with that guy strategy-wise?
I guess we first coached against each other in 2000, 2001, and those were two of the real good offenses we had down there at Florida. So we looked like we were a lot smarter than he was those 2 games. But recently, I'm trying to think if I had another game. He's a lot smarter than I was last year, let's put it that way. And who knows who's going to be the smartest this year? Who knows who's going to be the smartest? I read something interesting in the paper the other day about the Ryder Cup golf matches. One writer said whoever wins the Ryder Cup, that captain will be considered somewhere between John Wooden and Vince Lombardi. And he said the loser, he'll be considered like an SEC football coach after a loss. He'll be the dummy. And that's just the way it is. And we all know that. As coaches, we all know that. And, of course, we've learned sometimes you can win and still be a dummy. We've learned that recently, too, I guess. So, anyway, that's part of coaching. That is part of coaching that we all accept. That the winner's a smart guy, and usually the loser is a guy that looking for help somewhere.
Following up on that, Steve, Nick gets a lot of credit as one of the best defensive coaches in the country. Does he do anything special, or is it just the tackling? And
it's a little of both. It's a little of both. But, obviously, one thing I think they do extremely well, and I was telling our receivers that day watching tape, is that they run with you. I mean, they don't play behind and break on the ball. A lot of their coverages is they just get right with you and start running. And even if you're behind them and the ball's coming, that defender is going to hit your arm right when it gets there. He's going to be breaking it up. And they've had a lot of breakups like that in the end zone. Even the Florida game, I don't know if you noticed, they knocked it out. May have had one interference there, so forth, but their DBs do a good job of really clinging to the receivers. They get in their face, they jump into them, and you're going to have to get open, and the quarterback's going to have to throw a good pass if he's going to catch it without getting hit while the ball's coming. So that's one thing I think Nick coaches extremely well. And if you watch their DBs play, they're usually pretty close to the guy they're covering and then swiping at the ball.
Obviously, he's kind of DB guys. That was really
Yeah, I think that's sort of his thing. I think he enjoys coaching the DBs and linebackers. And when I see some of their practice tape on TV, usually he's coaching the DBs, it seems like. But he's the overall head coach. He knows what's going on with everything throughout the team.
Steve, the way Alabama's taken off the last couple of years, do you think that's helping the SEC West kind of try and keep up with them? I mean, that's where this year it looks like that's where the undefeated teams are right now. You know, the West over the East.
Yeah, the West has played better than the East thus far. I think we may have to, wait till it's all over with. Obviously, Arkansas, Mississippi State's gotten a lot better. Auburn, LSU, Alabama, always been strong teams, of course. And Ole Miss is a strong team, too. They've had a couple of setbacks I think they didn't think they were going to have. But anyway, no question the West appears better than the East right now. Yeah, it was interesting last Saturday. Every team in the West won and every team in the East lost, except the two that didn't play. Yeah, I don't think Arkansas played either, did they? The two that didn't play. So anyway, yeah, we realize this is an important game, and we realize there's a lot of big games down the road also. But again, we're looking forward to seeing what happens here Saturday afternoon.
Coach, as a lead into you gave Alabama pretty high compliments in blocking and tackling. How do you rate your team in those areas?
Our team in blocking and tackling, after the last game, we need to get better. We need to get better. We're not real good at either of those, I don't think. But we've been pretty good other games. Probably the Georgia game was certainly our best defensive game probably of the year. Offensively, we've had our good little spurts here and there. And in fact, actually the Auburn game was one of our best offensive games through the first three quarters. We scored 4 touchdowns in 7 possessions, and that was pretty good. But we didn't do much in the fourth quarter, as it turned out. Okay, all right, see you guys.